My name is Paul Sutton, and I want to spend the next 15 minutes just giving you a quick overview of the eyko platform. So as you can see here, eyko is a cloud-based platform that is licensed under a SaaS business model. And within the system, we've got a number of user types here on the right-hand side. The designer user, which is the one we're looking at the moment, is a user who's going to go and build a design in eyko terms. And a design is a workspace, a place where you're going to go and connect to a number of source systems, ingest some data from those systems onto the eyko platform, and then use eyko functions in order to be able to clean, enrich, and add new dimensions and new consolidation, new hierarchies to that data. And when you finish building your design, the designer will put the data into a stream, and the stream becomes the mechanism by which we deliver this data to other applications. So we will stream data from the design into eyko's own reporting and analytics capability, but we will also stream the data, let's say, into other tools like ClickView, Tableau, Power BI. So if I go back to my design, here I have a number of different designs that exist, and this is my demo system, so forgive it for being quite busy. But if I click, let's say, on this Paul demo design here, in this example here, I've got 4 tabs. The first tab, systems, is what are the systems that I want to connect to. So in this example here, I'm connecting to Microsoft AdventureWorks, Excel, JD Edwards, and Salesforce. My second tab is what data from those systems do I want to work with and bring onto the platform. The tab after that is what enrichment do I want to do with this data when it's on it. So enrichment can be cleaning data, creating new calculations, creating new hierarchies, building a unified chart of account structure, creating clean customer lists, all the enrichment that you might want to do when the data is on the platform. And then finally, blends is the mechanism by which we blend data with other systems. So if I go back to my systems tab here at the moment, as I say, I've got 4 different systems: AdventureWorks, Excel, JD Edwards, and Salesforce. And if I go maybe just edit my Salesforce connection here, we'll see how easy it is for you to go and establish a connection to a system. So I come in, I give it a name, give it a color, give it some system details, and then it'll prompt me, depending on whatever system I take from the drop-down, as to what sign-in credentials I need to provide in order to be able to access that system. And you can see here Salesforce is a security token-based system, and I need that in order to access it. JD Edwards in this example is living in a SQL Server database on Azure, and I need to provide a different set of credentials in order to be able to access that system. And then maybe if I wanted to just create a new one, let's say, for example, I'll come in, give it a name, give it a description, and maybe from the drop-down select NetSuite. And in this example here, NetSuite requires an account ID in order to be able to establish a connection. So really easy for you to be able to go, let's say, and access these systems. If I move on to the data tab, this basically controls and governs the data that I want to bring from these systems onto the platform. So if I come down here, let's say, and look at Salesforce as an example here, and I go and click not ingested, here's all the Salesforce tables that exist within the platform. But, in this instance here, I don't need to work with all these tables. So for the purposes of this demonstration, we're just working with the account table and the opportunity table that we've ingested onto the platform. The ingestion process, if I go look at that, gives you the ability to define the frequency by which you want to bring data onto the platform. So eyko can support real-time through CDC as a mechanism to refresh data from source systems onto the eyko platform. But we also give you the ability within eyko to set up periodic refreshes down to every 15 minutes. And we also give you the ability to be able to do it at an entity level. So, we all know that different data changes at different time cycles, etc., within an organization. So eyko is very efficient with the ability to be able to just refresh the data as and when it changes from the source systems, rather than having to refresh all the data all the time. Another thing that we sort of touch on, let's say, if we go and maybe change systems here, and I come to, let's say, JD Edwards, you've heard us talk about what we call application intelligence in this instance here. And if I go, let's say, and go into my Data Smarts button here, you can see that this is the JD Edwards tables as they're ingested onto the platform. They're really difficult and hard to work with. They make no sense to anybody or any user unless you're a JD Edwards expert. So what we have is the ability to come in here and maybe select the tables that I've ingested onto the platform, and then go and hit my Data Smarts button and press that, and echo is going to go off and it's going to go and connect to the data dictionary, and it's going to pull out the table names and the field names in a usable form. It's also going to sort out your Julian dates. It's also going to sort out your decimal shifting. It's also going to sort out your lookups. It's going to sort out how you join all the data. So immediately from a user's perspective, you now have a data set that you can work with. Instead of having to understand what GBA ID means, you can now see that it's account ID. And we believe that this data now is in a much more usable form for people to be able to continue the process of building a design and ultimately building their own reports and dashboards off this data. So that's a concept there around our application intelligence. If I go somewhere else, let's say around Excel, here in this example here, I have a number of different Excel spreadsheets that we've brought in. We encourage people to store their Excel sheets in storage files in some shape or form in a storage account somewhere, which means that when we automatically refresh the data onto the platform, we don't have to worry about a PC being switched off or anything else like that. But another example, let's say, of our data smarts is in the context here of let's say, being able to clean data. So here in this example here, I brought this spreadsheet of data onto the platform. You can see I've got issues with uppercase in the description. Country codes aren't consistent. Over here we have, let's say, issues around sort of how states define zip codes, etc. And we can press the Data Smarts button on this thing here, and you can see here all these magic wands as an indicator where things have been changed. And we can go and convert that data into something here that's much more usable. So from our perspective, because we have customers who deal with large volumes of data, it's just no longer viable in order to try and clean your data manually in Excel. So the ability to use AI and machine learning in order to clean this data is really quite powerful. The other thing we do is we keep a track of, let's say, the changes we've made. Lots of people think their data is quite clean. They're a bit surprised when they come in and see the level of cleanup that needs to be done to the data as part of the process. So that's our data tab. If I move on to assets is what we call enrichment, and this is where we're going to come in and build, some new classifications in the data, create a clean customer master list in this example, build some consolidation or some calculations into it. Here's where we would define new groupings of how we want to group data together, new hierarchies, or how we might even want to create a unified chart of accounts. And then finally over here, this is how we come and blend the data together. So here in this example, I hit my Data Smarts button. Eco was also able to work out how to join the JD Edwards tables together. So I didn't need to know how to do that. And that's how we do it within a single system. But if you want to blend data across multiple systems, you can use hubs in order to be able to do it. So excuse me, I've completed my design. I've connected to my systems. I've brought my data on. I've done my enrichment. I've blended it together. In order to create a stream, I just come in here and click the Stream Builder button. And here we just decide what elements we want to take from what systems, what assets that we want to include, how do we want to blend it together. And we go hit Process here, and Process becomes the mechanism by which it creates a stream. When we automate the whole system together, as data is ingested onto the platform and as the data changes as it comes onto the platform, the streams are clever enough to detect the data's changed, and I need to go and automatically reprocess the stream in order to make sure that all the data is up to date. So there we've connected the systems, we've brought it onto the platform, we've cleaned it, enriched it, we put the data into a stream. We're now in the ability to be able to deliver that to other parties. And maybe just before I go off that, with my streams built here now, if I come into broadcast mode here, let's say, and select this stream, if I want to deliver that stream of data to another application, let's say Power BI in this example here, I will just go and put, in my get data function within Power BI, I will go and put in that server detail and that database detail, and whatever data was in my stream will now be available, let's say, in my Power BI dashboard. But moving on, if we want to maybe go to the other user types that exist, then I come back over here. The viewer user is a user within our reporting and analytics capability who doesn't want to build any reports or dashboards. They just want to be able to view whatever has been built for them by somebody else. They want to interact with them. They want to be able to drill down. They want to be able to slice and dice the data, but they don't want to be able to build it, right? So that's a viewer user. So I'm going to click in here to viewer, and this is sort of an environment that a viewer user would come into. Now it's a little bit not really as it would be for a real live customer. This is my demo system. So if it was a real live customer environment, this would be within the company colors and logos, et cetera, et cetera. So we personalized to look like an information system for the customer. And here in the various different filters that we have, let's say, or the various different swim lanes of content that we have, or folders, for example, in my demo system, I've got quite a lot of folders, so it's quite busy. But maybe for real life customers, they wouldn't maybe have this amount of content that's available. But here I can just come in and I can click, let's say, on a report that's been built for me, and this is going to go and load this into my environment, and I'm going to be able to play with it now. So let me just put it into full screen mode. And this maybe is an interesting example for some people, because in lots of cases, people struggle to understand, well, what's the use case where I need in order to blend data from multiple systems? And Customer 360 is normally quite a good one, because Customer 360, customer data lives in a bunch of different systems. So in this example here, we're looking at customers at a summary level here in the top grid. In red, here's the data from my ERP system. Here's the data for Salesforce. Here's the data from HubSpot, Jira, Shopify, Toggle at a summary level. And then at the bottom, here's all the transactional data. Here's all my ERP data for all my customers, all my Salesforce data, all my HubSpot data, etc. And if I want to go back to ERP, I can drill down on Journey Sports Goods here, and I can see just the ERP transactions for Journey Sports Goods. Yeah, I can just see we've got one opportunity in order to do a sale. We've got some marketing efforts that we're about to kick off. We've got a number of help desk tickets available. So again, quite a powerful type way to sort of go and look at data, let's say, across multiple systems. If I come back maybe down here and go a little bit further as a viewer user, this may or may not be relevant. But one of the things you may or may not be aware of is that data visualization tools in general struggle to be able to deliver pixel perfect type reporting. So users still have to go and build, let's say, their own income statement or their balance sheets in Excel, not because it's the only place they can get the data, primarily because it's the only place they can format it in the way they need it formatted for presentation. Single underline, double underline, bold, italics. What do you do when a percent in a row meets a percent in a column? All that sort of stuff is important, let's say, in how you represent this data. And unfortunately, the standard grids that are available in the data visualization tools don't support that. And we've built, let's say, within eyko, a grid that gives you the same flexibility that you have in Excel inside your data visualization tool. So you can now have all your information within a company information system or a company portal, rather than having certain types of reports, or let's say within the portal, and then other types of reports floating around, let's say in Excel and that sort of stuff. So that's just an example of what's possible there. And maybe the last example here I'm going to show you is, let's say, in sales reporting, a typical sort of sales type dashboard. And the reason I'm just going to show you this now here and bring it up is because I'm going to now in a second, I'm going to switch from a viewer user into a creator user, and I'm going to go and rebuild this for you there and then. So this is a classic, let's say, sales type dashboard. We've got a series of filters across the top. We've got some metrics. We've got a grid with basically that sort of drills from country down to customer. And we have an interactive chart where I can go and highlight it, let's say, and go and focus on a certain sector of the map, and the data will already segment to what I've selected, let's say. So really quite powerful, really quite standard, let's say. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to switch from my viewer user into my creator user, and I'm going to come in and, let's say, just build, let's say, that dashboard. So I'm going to give it a name, Paul. And there's only two things the user needs to do in order to start doing this. They need to pick what stream they want to work with. So I've got a stream called JD Edwards Sales. And then eyko comes with its own series of presentation templates. So the user doesn't even need to build a template in any way, shape, or form. They can just select from a library. So in this example here, I've selected this one. This is the one that we saw earlier. And I'm going to hit create. And what eyko's now going to do, eyko's going to go and pull the data from the stream, and bring it into my workspace and pull the empty presentation template into the workspace. And the creator user, quite simply, is just going to drag and drop data elements from the stream onto the dashboard. And if you think about the stream being a curated data set with data from multiple systems, the user doesn't need to know the names of the fields or the tables or anything like that in order to be able to build the reports and dashboards. Equally, they don't need to be able to use Power BI in order to be able to do this. eyko uses embedded Power BI, and in that context there, we've been able to sort of take away the functionality people don't need in order to be able to do this. So let me make this full screen here for a second. And I'm just going to go and work away and populate some of this elements here. So in slicer 1, I want to put customers. And in slicer 2, I want to put item name. And in slicer 3, I just want to put country. Now in this example here, I know the names of the fields, so I don't have to scroll through, but effectively everything you see in the drop down on the left is the contents of the stream. So in my map, I want to plot my countries, and I want to just plot my revenue, and in my demo system, price is a proxy for revenue, so immediately you start to see that populate, and even though I haven't finished, I can go and hover and get some information back, etc. Maybe in the grid here, what I want to do is I want to put country, drilling down to customer name. And in the columns, I want revenue, cost, and margin. And then maybe here in my metrics, I want price, which is a proxy for revenue, and I want margin. And there you can see, I can continue on, but you get the idea of really how easy it is for me to be able to go and build this out. As I say, I don't need to, all I'm doing is selecting elements from the stream here on the right-hand side and just putting them on the dashboard, on the empty dashboard that's been created for me that I pulled from the library. So really very simple for people to be able to do it. So I'm just going to save that, let's say. Another thing that's quite interesting, let's say from an eyko perspective, is this idea of eyko comes with its own Excel plugin. So here on the right-hand side, I can go and activate my plugin, and it's going to present to me, let's say, all the streams that are available to me for me to be able to work with, right? So they're loading the streams in as we speak, and here's basically all the streams that are available to me that I can go work with in Excel. So here in this one, ZDemo, I'm going to click on that. It's a combination of ERP and CRM type data. And here in this example here, this is basically the contents of my stream. So in this example here, I want to go and create a customer blend. And from eyko's perspective, a customer blend is a combination of, let's say, all the customers that exist in both my ERP system and my CRM system. And then I want to go to my ERP system and pull out the total due. I want to come to my CRM system and pick out expected revenue. And then I'm just going to press play. And eyko's going to go off and going to pull that data onto the spreadsheet. And you can see here that I've got some master data management challenges here because action bike specialists and action bicycle specialists are called different names and they exist in different systems. So what I can also do now is I can get eyko to go and maybe create a clean customer master list across the two different systems and maybe do a calculation or a system reconciliation. And I'm just going to change the sequence by which they present, and I'm going to press play. And now immediately I have a consolidated clean customer master list across two different systems where eyko's sort of grouped all the data together. Here's the data from my ERP system. Here's the data from my CRM system. Here's the reconciliation calculation performed by eyko. And clearly we see here in the top line that there's clearly something that we've sold in our CRM system that we haven't invoiced in our ERP system. So here, just an example that when you get your data from multiple sources into a stream, you can access it for your reports and dashboards, but you can also make it available for people who want to work, let's say, with it in Excel. From eyko's perspective, we really don't care what tool people use in order to work with the data. We do care that they're all working off the same data, and the stream becomes a very powerful mechanism to deliver a curated type experience, let's say, to people who want to work with data in different applications, but consistent data in different applications. Finally, to wrap up, I'm going to go back here and maybe just sort of cancel out of that and come in here and go to switch back to my viewer mode. Because we talked, let's say, or you'll have heard us talk about this idea of next generation. And you may have also heard us sort of talk about things like, maybe reporting is dead. And we sort of don't mean reporting is dead as you think, but what we do feel is that if you think about, let's say, the process of people getting answers to information requests, people typically have to build a report in order to be able to do that. And we just see a future whereby maybe people don't necessarily need to create a report in order to be able to get that information out. So here I'm back into my income statement. I've got 3 years worth of data broken into monthly buckets and then grouped into quarters, etc. as we go on. I can come in and just click on this. And you can see here what I've now done is I've activated my AI Copilot. So here in this example here, I still have my report up here, but if I activate my AI Copilot, I can come in here and maybe ask a question of the data, right? So what was the revenue growth over the past couple of years? And maybe I want to have that answer back in a table, and I press enter. So here we're going to pass this data out to an AI engine. It can also be passed out, let's say, to a closed large language learning model. And it's going to give us some insights. So as I say, we still have our reports. We still have the ability to see those reports, but we now have the ability to be able to go and ask questions of that data set. So and here it's come back and said, well, here's the sales revenue over the couple of years, and here's basically the year-on-year growth percentage across those things. And when we sort of say, let's say, reporting is dead, glibly, let's say, you could also make a case that whereby maybe the question could be, is planning dead, right? Because I can come in here and go, assuming the same level of growth, what will next year's revenue be? So one of the things that we believe is quite important is that while this is quite sexy, with your ability to be able to get answers out of these types of technologies, our view would be that people will only ever trust what they get back if they can trust what goes into an AI engine, right? So the challenge for lots of people is, how do I connect to a bunch of different systems? How do I get a trusted, single, curated data set across those systems that put me in a position to be able to leverage these types of technologies? And that at its core is the core part of eyko's value proposition. But here you see it's come back, and it's sort of saying that, you can potentially, if it continues to grow at the same pace, 36.7%, next year's revenue will be 10.9 million. So just an example, let's say in an overview from eyko's perspective of how easy you can go build a design, connect a system, blend data together, put the data into a stream. When you have the data in the stream, then how you can use eyko's reporting and analytics capability in order to be able to build your own reports and dashboards over it. Excuse me. And when you get your data in the right shape, how you can also leverage, let's say, things like ChatGPT and AI and that sort of stuff in order to be able to go and get answers from the data without necessarily having to create the reports in order to get the answers. I hope you found this worthwhile. If you'd like to find out more, please go to our website, www.eyko.io. Thank you.